Hi, my name is Marie Mercado, and this is the second sentence I will be diagramming for rhetorical grammar. I wanted to choose a sentence that was relatively simple, but still interesting and still dealt with things that we haven't learned how to diagram in Hopper. And so I picked the sentence with a lot of infinitives in it. And since I'm a total nerd, this sentence is the last sentence in the opening to Star Trek Enterprise, and it goes, Star Trek Enterprise, period. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. And so yes, infinitives abound. Since this is a very long sentence, I don't want to bore you with a bunch of clicking and making nodes and things. I've made different instances of this sentence in various phases of in various stages of the diagram. And so that way I can just jump from one to the next without having to make you watch me clicking and making all the triangles. But I still want to walk you through the way I discovered and reasoned through the way I got to my final diagram. So even though I know how it's going to turn out, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to pretend that I don't. So I'm going to start with the basic triangles first because I'm not entirely sure how I want to handle the infinitives yet, but I do know certain things, like I can split the sentence into subject and predicate, and that I want to explore strange new worlds and to seek out new life and new civilizations, etc., etc. I want those to be phrases, and so they need to have their own triangles. And so I'm just kind of going to jump ahead to me making a few of those triangles real quick. Okay, so I know the whole thing's a sentence and its declaration, and we have the subject is the NP, its 5-year mission, and we have the predicate phrase is everything else. However, the interesting bit about this sentence is that it doesn't actually have a verb phrase. The way you're supposed to hear this sentence is its 5-year mission is to explore new worlds, etc. However, there's no word is. That's what the colon is doing, and so I've made the colon a separate word, and it's kind of a placeholder for the word is. And I'm treating it as the VP because I know it means is, like semantically, and that's the best I can do because these other phrases, to explore strange new worlds, etc., are not the predicate. They're not the verb phrase. And so I need a verb phrase somewhere, and so we're going to call it the colon. Okay, so now we have our triangles, we have our subject and our predicate. Now we got to figure out what these phrases are. I'm inclined to think that they are subject complements because they are completing what the mission is. The mission is these things. And so I think that, yeah, they're subject complements, sorry. And so that's how I'm going to label them. I'm still not entirely sure what their form is at this point. And while I think they may be acting as noun phrases, I'm not entirely sure yet. But this is what we have. The next step I would make is to go ahead and make triangles of the things that we do know. So, like, strange new worlds we know is a phrase, and so I'll create a node there. And new life and new civilizations is a phrase, and so I'll go ahead and create that node. And keep doing this. To boldly go where no man has gone before, I'm going to deal with at the end of the video, because it's not complicated per se, but it's a little bit different than these other two phrases, which are very similar, even though this is all parallel structure. Then next stage, I have already pulled out all of the different things that I wanted to do and labeled them appropriately, so I'm just going to go to that real fast. Okay, so I'm not sure what to explore is, I'm not sure what to seek out is, but I know Strange New World, NP. New life and new civilization, and two different NPs conjoined together. This is easy. Okay, so now we're at the difficult part. And so now I'm going to Hopper to try to figure out how exactly I should deal with these infinitives. And I looked at Hopper and I went to the section where he does talk about infinitives. He does say we're not going to diagram this because it's too difficult or whatever, but he does talk about their grammatical structures and things. And the section he talks about infinitives the most in is in the non-finite clauses section. And So he has infinitives working as infinitive like phrases that contain infinitives as non-finite noun clauses, which basically means they're a noun clause, but they don't really, they're not simple, I guess. I'm not entirely sure why they're non-finite, but that's what he calls them. And one of the examples he gives for infinitives is Mary's favorite pastime was to kayak. And I feel like that sentence is very similar to our sentence, and its 5-year mission is to explore strange new worlds. And it's very, very similar. So I figured this was where I should start my analysis. So so Hopper says that non-finite noun clauses have all the regular trappings of a noun clause. So they have a subject, they have a predicate, they can have adverb complements, they can have direct objects, they can all of these things. And so I'm like, oh yes, that's good, that's exactly what I want. However, the problem is that none of these phrases actually have a subject. And also in the case of Mary's favorite pastime was to kayak doesn't necessarily have a subject. And I wasn't entirely sure how to deal with that. And the only thing I can think of is to just say that the subject is dropped or implied. The subject is implied to be mission, like back to the subject of the entire sentence. And the reason I can't use to as a subject, for example, is because that would break up the phrase to explore, which I think should be a phrase. And so I'm going to go ahead and create that node now. Also to seek. So I can't use that as a subject because that would break up that phrase. So I'm just going to continue this analysis saying that the subject for each of these embedded clauses is dropped, and that there is a subject, it's just implied and not actually stated. And so what happens is these become S's that are acting as subject complements. However, we also get a new node, which is the predicate phrase in each of these sentences. Excuse me while I do a little bit of clicking because I don't have this part done out for you guys yet. Ugh, stop being a pain. There we go. Okay. And so, predicate phrases. And this is the predicate, but it's for these embedded clauses, and so we do it lowercase as convention. And then that would make to explore a VP. And that would also be the predicate. And how to deal with the to itself, I'm just going to call it an auxiliary word that's function is to be infinitive. And then this is the verb, and woohoo, we've done the thing. So now we have this is clearly the direct object to explore, because what are we doing? We're exploring strange new worlds. What are we doing? We're exploring strange new worlds. Anyway, so that's the direct object. And now we have a sentence sans our dropped subject. And so I'm going to do the same thing over here for the phrase to seek out new life and new civilizations. These become direct objects, and this becomes the VP. The thing about this, though, and I'm going to talk while I type, or I'm going to attempt to anyway, is... Okay, no, I cannot talk while I type. Is that to seek out is a phrasal verb, and the way Hopper does phrasal verbs is that the preposition is marooned, and it is just its own little baby prepositional phrase, and that's it. I don't necessarily agree with Hopper, because I feel like if it's a phrasal verb, seek out should be a phrase, but it's not the way Hopper does things, and so we're going to do things the way Hopper does things. And this is an adverb complement, if I could spell correctly. And yes, now we have done the first two parts, and it's almost complete. I'm going to leave the NPs in this as triangles, at least for now, because they're pretty simple. strange new worlds is adjective noun, new life is adjective noun, and civilization adjective noun. It's pretty simple, and we've already done it in Hopper a bunch, and I don't feel the need to diagram that out for you, at least not right this second. Alright, so now it's time to move on to this to boldly go phrase over here. And because this isn't actually standard written English, we do have a split infinitive here with the to boldly go. And at first I thought this would be really difficult to do, but then it ended up not really being. To boldly go is obviously a phrase, and so we do that. And then boldly is just an adverb that's modifying go, and to is the same thing as before. It's the auxiliary that's acting as the making it infinitive. And so it's actually not that difficult to diagram out. It's just, and then all the same thing as it has been before. Oh, this should have been S earlier. That's my bad. And then over here, I'm just going to leave that there for now. I'll finish diagramming in a second, for interest of time anyway. This is obviously a phrase, and it's acting as the direct object, kind of, maybe, because this is actually a noun clause acting as a direct object, and I know that because this where is acting as a was subordinator to this, and so the entire phrase itself is acting as a direct object. However, the where is acting as a adverb complement to gone, and no man as the subject, has gone before as the has gone as the predicate, and this before is actually an adverbial modifying this whole sentence in here. And I've already diagrammed all this out, so instead of clicking all that for you right now, I'm just going to go ahead and jump to it over here. So yes, so where is, like I said, where is the adverb complement, no man is the subject, has gone as the predicate, and this before is modifying this where no man has gone, and so it's an adverbial, it's a post-core adverbial of time, and it's a prepositional phrase, but its prepositional complement has been dropped. There's an implied before this time is what the noun phrase in the prepositional phrase would be, but it's not there because it got dropped. And so now we've pretty much untangled this entire sentence, this ridiculous entire sentence. Oh, I never actually talked about the subject, and that's because it's very simple. The its is a pronoun that is a determiner, 5 years is an adjective, and mission is a noun. Pretty simple. And I already explained how these other triangles got, how these other triangles would be diagrammed out. No man is, the no is a negator, and man is the noun, which is simple. Has gone, this is in the perfect tense, so has is the perfect of gone, and gone is the lexical verb. And so we're pretty much done, and I went ahead and diagrammed out these triangles just for the sake of it, and so I'll give you that real quick here. And so this is it. And it thought this would be a very difficult sentence, and it turned out to not be as difficult as I thought it would be. The only peculiar thing is that these sentences, these embedded clauses, don't actually have subjects. And I guess that's taking a little bit of leap of faith on my part, but that was the thing that made the most sense to me. So this is it, and thank you very much for watching.